And one of the things I realized when I started studying psychology was that because there's an anger here and a pain here, the sadness here, they're two different distinct things, but they're very relative. But I couldn't blame it on other people anymore because of what was in here. And it's because of what was in here that was put there when I was a young kid and not having the ability to contemplate it at that time. So once I started studying psychology, I realized my sadness is my own, and my anger is developed from all the other things that I see in other people, just like the sadness was developed in my heart. That's why I came up here tonight, Jack, because I realized the problem between me and you, it really doesn't have to do with the outside anger or the outside sadness that we see. It's the sadness and the anger in myself. And that's what I'm telling you, Jack. You, of all people, like I said before, helped me start learning about my anger again and realizing how out of control it is. Jack, everybody else, just like Paul says, just like many psychology books say, we are all one another. We are all relative to the very same unconsciousness, subconscious, the things that we don't realize until we actually start thinking about them and correlate what we're thinking about with our heart.
Mm.
So I have learned from Jack, that I have displaced my anger. I'm asking you to see if maybe you've displaced yours.
Hey, thank you, brother. Sincerely, I appreciate everything you've offered. Those were great lessons, and I hope people can realize that too. Anger is often a result of our sadness. And the path to healing is to actually identify those things and understand those feelings within. So, El Perro, thank you as well. I have seen your growth. Um, I'm grateful you found opportunities to review your anger with me or through me. And I look forward to the future.
What do you think about that duplicity of mirroring? Meaning you give in, one gives in to the anger that we have about others because we aren't either perceived as we want to be, understood ourselves as we want to be, and we see others maybe experiencing something that we aren't. What do you think about that duplicity of mirroring? Because I find that constant, especially on these panels. I hear a lot of people angry at you for the things that they themselves seem to not understand.
Yeah. This is the world we live in. I mean, and that's part of, I think, part of the problem is the minds and hearts have not been properly understood through the masses. So the education system I went through, that we went through, it really didn't design us for life. Aaron and I were talking earlier, and he shared some lessons he learned when he was young. And I realized these lessons we learn when we're actually, you know what? The lessons we learn at any time in our life, they can dramatically change our trajectory and our future, such as we find out a friend has been untrustworthy. We find out a partner has betrayed us. We find out an organization, whatever. Things happen and life brings us changes. I totally bounced way away from your question, didn't I, Aaron?
No, I mean, we're having a philosophy panel. This isn't math. We're not going to end up with a 7 + 7 = 14, and we all go, oh, okay. No. Which is oftentimes, by the way, one of the things I really find, and I'd love to hear Machine's thought on this, because I know you deal with topics like this that are quite confusing to people, and they expect some n-sum result, some zero-sum gain, or I'm sorry, some actual gain beyond zero-sum. How do you actually express that to people who expect an outcome? And anybody, this is to anybody. How do you expect how to explain that to people who want a W or L? Because there is none.
That's the paradigm. that I think we want to try and break out of is the focus on the win-loss. Man, that's not the purpose. The results are not the purpose. The experience, the journey, the growth, those are the purpose. So how do we convince others to break away from that? Help me figure it out, please.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's
you can't. I don't know how you convince anybody of anything. There's
Oh,
well,
God.
that's a
logic.
key.
There's persuasive
Yeah.
rhetoric. There's modeling.
Yeah, that's a key point that that Jack just raised about not having victory or defeat in mind, because somebody who's already of clear conscience and has already made the effort beforehand, they all they have to do is give the performance. I mean, they're not going to be necessarily focused on the goal and not the task, so to speak. And that's what sincerity is. It's focusing 100% on what you're doing, not diverting your attention. And that's kind of what it is that, somebody who's in that mode isn't focused on praise or blame or victory or loss or all those things. They already worked all of that out, that whether or not they pass or fail is going to be, what they're doing has value. And that's why the heart works with integral things. It works with relations. And that's another vehemently dangerous aspect of relations, is that relations, it seems like soft. It's like, oh yeah, well that's soft stuff. Relations, that's puppy dog stuff. But actually, relations is politics. Like like Mao Zedong said, war is politics, with blood, and politics is war without blood. So it's like two heads of the same coin. Or you could take the Frank Zappa one, where he says that politics is the entertainment division of the military industrial complex. It kind of rings true. I mean, it's kind of like that's the kind of and that doesn't diminish its value, or its danger. Actually, the acting part is the most dangerous part of the whole, schemata of the thing. If you could dig that, But yeah,
No, that sounds real. Jack and I were actually talking about this exact thing being observed in action that most people don't understand about the politics side. By the way, that it's very human, that it's very flawed, and that it is an entertainment or a performative thing, that to get people to a center ground of compromise, which by the way is people, both parties mildly unhappy with the outcome, but happy enough, as opposed to cooperation, which is both parties walking away very happy. To watch these things go down, you'd think that there's all kinds of weird spy stuff. And no, it's just folks standing in a room, smoking a couple cigarettes, trying to figure out how they can get to the median ground. And I think people miss that. I think they imagine some higher, holier than thou, despicable or non-despicable aspect, whether it be religious or other, to the middle ground of people's understanding of each other. That there is no control from some otherly being when we're sitting here on a panel or in a bar, or it's just you and I. It's just Machine and I. And by the way, for all intents and purposes, Machine and I, based off of the ignorance of many people in our nation, shouldn't get along. We should be enemies. We should see each other as evil. I'll never see that.
That's why fighting others is always about knowing who you are, because it's about getting into the ring with yourself. It's about seeing if your training actually worked. That's the shadow boxing aspect of it. That you have to shadow box yourself before you enter the ring. And that kind of goes with more so in terms of just acting without thinking about what you're doing, when it really becomes second nature, and the performance aspect of it, it's really in the heart. Yeah, I kind of lost my train of thought there. I apologize, guys. Sometimes it comes out, sometimes it doesn't. It is.
We're getting very deep into the interpersonal and the stuff that honestly I think it's hardest to nail down. I think these are the places that most people can't get to nail them down and say, oh, these are our minute differences that we can just look past because they're, not as important as the greater good for each of us.
I have a question. I've been noticing everything we've been doing the past 30 minutes. It's all been head stuff. It's been trying to figure things out with our head.
No actual field action you're talking about, Jeff?
And I fall into that too.
Oh,
Well,
oh,
I just
that's
think it's
oh, that's
interesting
where I
because
was.
it's my
Oh,
normal
that's where
mode
I
as
was
well.
gonna.
But if it's about moving into the heart,
That's where I was gonna go with it. Thank you for reminding me because it was essentially what I was gonna say is that fighting others is about knowing yourself. Whereas a strategist, he could plan a battle in his mind without ever participating in the battle. You know what I'm saying? So the mind, a strategist could master war without ever being in a battle. He just has to know about the history of the conflicts, you know what I mean, and how to move the different soldiers on the battlefield. You know what I mean, right? So he doesn't
like a
actually have
chess
to
game.
participate in the war, but the warrior has heart. The warrior is about sacrifice. He's like, no, I'm gonna show up and defend what's mine. That's about yourself. That's about taking your own ass to the battlefield and defending what's yours. That's more of a warrior thing, is heart shit, but that's about fighting yourself. That's what I was gonna say, is about fighting yourself versus the mind, not really getting involved with shit. But yeah.
So I wonder if there's a relationship between moving from heart to head and what you said, moving from action, from dreaming to action, because I see a lot of that too, like
Right.
will, heart is will.
Right, and that's why technology is such a thing, because technology is about action, but it does things for us, so we get confused. It saps our heart energy, it saps our sincerity, because it sets things into motion without us like participating in it. People think like, man, shit is real when like people made this shit. People want to buy shit people made. They say it's more real, it's more authentic, it's more of a higher quality. Because somebody who's making something, because a machine can make product like the same thing every time, but it doesn't necessarily, a human creative effort will not perform the same way every time. And that's kind of the heart, is like uniqueness. It's like putting your own touch on it. You know what I mean? It's like a weird aspect of things. You know what I mean? And that's why we have, yeah.
Barbie, what do you think about all this?
Yeah.
I'm just listening.
Okay.
By the way, Barbie, are you Yeti or are you Sasquatch? Are we? Because I'm confused. Are you subgenius by any chance?
She's
It's
just
Sasquatch.
trans.
It's Sasquatch.
Oh, cool.
I'm not trans. Why do you guys think I literally?
I
have
don't.
children and I own children.
No,
I
asked.
I'm
Oh,
just
somebody
funning
else.
with you, Barbie.
No.
I know.
I never did think you were.
She's just reactive.
Speaking of on the ground, and I'm sorry, Jack, you were about to say something.
Go ahead.
I just noticed somebody in chat that I don't want to call them out, but I want to address.
Oh,
this
call them out.
statement.
That's what they're there for.
Okay,
Definitely do that.
Hold on a second.
Comment.
If I'm going to do that, let me get real close in on it. Yeah. No. Melanie Moran, can these two motor mouths pipe down already? There is a button.
Wow.
There's a button. It's on your phone or device. It changes the channel if you're that concerned about this kind of conversation. If not, feel free to put your foot on the ground, your finger on the other button, and take part in the conversation because you don't agree.
It's a crackdown of the century.
Well, it's
Praise God.
We're here to figure things out between us and have this conversation to the betterment of everybody if we can, or the worse of everybody. We don't know.
Yep.
That's the great thing about these conversations. But when you deny the conversation, you let everybody know that you're just a spinning little frothing who knows what out there. And I'm concerned you have a license, frankly, because if that's the logic you're using because it's chat, well, I'd say that's probably the logic you use when people aren't looking at you, which is kind of what Machine was talking about when you're talking about the actions of the heart in the world. And this is where all of us want to build a place. And I think Jack is very much about this, where we can trust each other, that you're not going to walk into the next room and despicably tear somebody else apart because you're not in their point of view. And I would say that the more we understand our differences, the more we should love the diversity of each other, rather than to point out, I'm not and everybody's a nutter because we don't know what's in your mind. Do you understand that expecting others to know what your situation is, despite the obvious preface and examples, makes you the limited experience person? And that is unfortunate, because everybody here wants to address and engage. And when people aren't, you're telling on yourself. And it is part of the environment of the modern internet. And it is a sad thing that most of us don't enjoy, but we want to reach out to. We want to say, hey, and even Flo does this, and not to point you out, Flo, but Flo does this as well in his own channel. Yeah, you do.
Just want to take advantage of the fact that Flo is under me right now. Just want to.
You can see what I'm doing.
Shake weight. It's just a shake weight.
We don't want to see it, Flo.
It's just a shake weight. I'm literally the awkwardness. Joe is not walking in my face.
No, it's not. I know, because I'm drowning down here.
Flo, what's that word? Aquadasia?
Aquadasia.
Oh, the cologne.
Say that for me again, though. I love the way you say it.
Aquadasia.
Well, Melanie Moran, I'm sorry, you're an observer, yes, but once you're in our chat, you're part of the conversation here. That's how YouTube and the chats work. And to extrapolate yourself just because you don't like the fact that you've been addressed for something that is fairly not innocuous, but rather kind of despicable in a certain way from the point of view of those that are trying to engage around you and here, I would just say be aware that the troll thing, if you're in your 30s, 40s, or 50s, that ended, once again, as we mentioned, 2016 was the year of the edgelord, and those were teenagers playing Call of Duty. None of that behavior, and as somebody who is a touted reverend of the subgenius, I can tell you this, trolling is done. Trolling is long done. We gave up on that as a way to move people.
I think the trolls will always be with us, but it's how you manage them.
True for that. And it's just not fun for anybody. And it's just not making a point. And the point I'm trying to say is I think everybody wants to find engagement and love here.
Yeah, if we can keep showing up and giving Jack some more elevated content, then he won't even need the trolls on here.
Yeah. Although it's fun to have them up here. That's why I'm inviting you.
Well, knock them out. They don't come on my channel at all. If y'all want a troll-free channel, come on mine. We don't have them.
Yeah, I don't generally have them either.
Channel. Jeff's got a good channel.
I haven't checked your channel yet. I got to check that out, Jim.
I just discovered it today.
We're live every day, 7 days a week at 2 p.m. Central. Open panel.
Very cool. It's a new day, and I'll hope for the best.
What the fuck is this cupcake?
You're not very good at pattern matching, are you, Jack?
No, he's terrible at it.
Good Lord.
Snafu.
That's all you needed.
Yep. Good try, brother. You can try again tomorrow.
Don't change his stripes.
All these guys suffer
Jack
from
is forgiven,
COA disease.
What's that, Chuck?
Center of attention disease.
Well, it's the ego. It is the result of conditioning. And the conditioning has been enabled in a dysfunctional society. So we've got a lot of people running around seeking attention, but not wanting any responsibility or actually any accountability. They just want the attention.
That's why I always say, take my advice. I'm not using it. That's my theory on a lot of people.
God, the dad joke.
Like, be quiet, Flo. Go back to your shake weight.
All right, I'm just down here drowning still.
Oh, because you're in
Barbie,
the
let me up.
Oh, that's funny. That's real funny.
But
Too
by the
much
way,
Aquadasia.
Chuck, I really do feel you on this, man. I think that I'm sorry, I'm getting a little off, but I think there's just a lot of misplaced value. I think there's a lot of misplaced value a lot of the time. And instead of valuing the way we get to places, folks want to act as though they have the answer despite they aren't providing any engagement. the fact that they aren't even getting to a place of going, okay, here's a possible solution, or don't even understand this conversation as a way to foment more solutions, if there is such a thing.
Yeah, that's true.
You know, they would deny, and I see it constantly in this chat, which, by the way, I gotta point out, you know, you must be doing a good thing, Jack, because only when you're doing a good thing do all of the real pushback people show up, because they are threatened that you might upend in some way their simplicity of idea or ideal.
I'm going to disagree with that.
Okay.
You said earlier that we're done with trolls. We're not. Trolls are going to be trolls, and it doesn't matter whether you're good or bad. They're going to hit every platform. That's what they do. And that's why I popped up, Jack. 1.5 seconds. Kudos, brother. You don't need those kind of distractions. And I appreciate Flo not saying anything while I was here. Thank you again. Have a good night, Jack.
I actually do agree with him to some degree. I think it was maybe a misstatement on my part to say there's no more trolls, or the age where that's cool and acceptable was when you were 16, and when you don't get out of that contrarianism as your way of dealing with anything that challenges you. That's what I'm talking about. Is kind
you
of
guys got to stop treating insincere people like they're sincere.
Yeah, or hey, if
you're
a troll, just get better at it. Like up your game.
Yeah. Like, you know, attaching everything in somebody's house to their ceiling. I'm not saying you should do that, but that's a troll.
Trolls need to evolve.
Into what?
Something more better,
gargoyle.
More sophisticated, something more modern age, future. We're in the future.
Charizard.
We can all evolve into decent human beings. I think it's within reach of everybody. Just decent, right? And even decent, that's kind of a loose term. Just how about less offensive? Snafu, if you're listening, is there possibly a less offensive version of you, one that's easier to get along
Obviously
with?
not. Most of us that are decent, we were already decent years ago. Like that book, Everything I Learned in Kindergarten or whatever. Like most of this shit I knew by kindergarten, not like how to be a decent person.
But the world,
so if they didn't pick it up,
the world then teaches us different than that. Because you're right, we do learn the basics of being honest and authentic when we're children. Ideally, I mean that's
the first man.
Except the demon children.
Well, what do y'all think? What do y'all think of the value that's it's a sociological thing? It's kind of a test, you know, about the people who put their shopping cart back are kind.
I always do that. It bothers me not to put my cart back.
So what do you guys think about that as an actual value? Because I think personally, I think it has some statement. I don't know about kindness so much, but as
conscientiousness and pro-social ability.
Demonstrates nothing.
Consideration.
Those cart boys prefer to walk around
beyond yourself. So
shopping
responsibility.
Those cart boys prefer to wander around the parking lot and get stray carts than to actually push the huge rows of them back in.
Oh no.
Oh
is that what we're talking about though? Flo?
Man, I've worked that job. I know what it's like. It is way better to wander out to the edge of the parking lot, smoke a cigarette, and get that loose cart.
So would you prefer us not to put our cart back because we're helping you?
Yeah.
Have something to do and get a smoke break.
Yeah.
But I mean, once again, it's not the question though. It's not the question. It's whether or not you think that the person who puts the cart back, it's not about the person who's getting it as a job and doing it later. It's about whether or not the person who puts the cart back or isn't is defined by that action. Do you think that?
Well, I mean,
I don't think they're defined by it, but I think it's one
indicator.
Like
since I know
one thing to consider, like one metric. I mean, they could put the cart back and go home and beat their wife, but we don't know.
Yeah, like I personally think like people who throw garbage around, they like smell, look bad, they like, you know, kind of talk like weird, you know, then they kind of have like fucked up appearance, like they're kind of like wearing sweatpants and shit like that. You know, I personally think that those people are in bad formation, but I never say that to them, you know, in public. You know, I just kind of just avoid, like I just treat them as if they were, you know, kingly, you know. But yeah, you know, I guess I'm just magnanimous. But yeah, the thing is, I always notice like their behavior. You know, I notice like that this person is unclean, like that they're throwing garbage around, that they're around a bunch of garbage, that they're uncleanly, uncouth, that type of shit. It definitely affects me. If somebody smells bad, they have like bad breath or some shit like that. It's a terrible thing. It's definitely uncharitable type of behavior for others, and it reflects somebody who doesn't care about others in a very like sort of primal way, and that displays that you actually don't have purity of heart. Like they say, godliness and cleanliness and purity. Purity is really an aspect of heart. That's heart consciousness. That's not going to come from your head. It's going to be about how you just like it might not be. I'm not saying like like you got to have like all these nice clothes and shit, but if you're going to an event, you wear the nicest thing you have, because you care about the place. I mean, right? Like that matters. It matters to me, when people do it for me. I but yeah, man, I really believe that, but
I agree.
A sense of decorum.
Yeah, all you got to do is watch court TV on YouTube, different courts. The way people present themselves is, when they do zoom in, is just totally.
They zoom into court now?
Yeah. Oh, they've been doing Zoom court.
God.
I hate lottery ticket people.
Oh,
they stand at the fucking gas station counter and want to scratch all their tickets and check them all before they move out of the way.
And then get another one when they win 50
Get another
cents.
one like, oh, we scan. Oh, give me another one of them and them. Man, get the fuck out of here. Go to the casino. I know it's payday, but it's not.
So do we think that these small infractions of social ineptitude are something that actually reverberate and metastasize or get larger? Or do we think that these things are something that are part and parcel of us giving grace to others for their lack of self-awareness?
Some of it's cultural too.
I think I would say the latter, not the former, but yeah, that'd be my personal.
I think it's a little bit of both.
Life is interesting. There's a lot of different characters and a lot of different, life every day, it brings us new experiences, maybe that we haven't figured out before. And it's hard to know what the answers are. But what this world taught us is many of us have been taught to be afraid if we don't have the answers, to become nervous if we don't have the answers, right? And not to take actions without the answers, because you don't want to be wrong. You get punished if you're wrong. So the fear of being wrong, the fear of making mistakes, often keeps a lot of us from growing. The key is being present and getting out of the mind, getting into the heart. And there is so much benefit from the practice of meditation and prayer, the practice of training your mind to focus, training your mind to go within. And seriously, through proper exercise of the mind, you can reduce your physical activity because you think things through. And if you think things through, you can find the more efficient path rather than, rushing out and making a bunch of mistakes through trial and error. We can do it either way, but I've been seriously, I found the benefit, and then I've been practicing and learning and practicing ways for myself. Choose more, do less, right? Think things through, use the tools, the resources that we have to the best of ability, the most efficient use. And if you consider your body, your day, your time, every day that we're awake, we are utilizing energy, and we can deplete our energy pretty quickly. So pay attention to how your energy is being spent. If you're frustrated and angry, those energies are depleting us before we even take any actions. Living in the heart is the way. It really is.
Well, what's the first step to living in your heart, Jack, as far as you're concerned?
Yeah, that's what I want to know.
There's many first steps, but the goal is to surrender and to accept. to surrender to the truth, to accept the truth, and through the truth, through the facts, really building the practice of appreciation and gratitude. Because after humbling ourselves to the facts, the real reality, the real life we're living in the moment, then you build appreciation. And then with gratitude, you feel good. You share love with others.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that starts on a individual local level, and it builds from there. Because if I'm not trying to help somebody throughout my day, whether it's me or an animal I take care of, a neighbor, it doesn't matter. It has to start with the individual, and then it has to go out from there. I just can't drive down to the complex down here and get on a soapbox and tell everybody this is the way you got to live. I have to show them how to live.
Do you?
And that's one of the things that Chuck is bringing up that I like that I'd like to go off of because he is talking about willpower and there is some critical things. If you just analyze around you, there are some critical challenges around you, things that you've been thinking of, ways to better yourself, but you just kind of put it off. And there's also things that people you might want to call, that you think like it's too hard to have that conversation, so you just put it off till later, and that's the thing, is that the heart gives us courage to do those things now instead of put them off for later, because we don't have tomorrow. In the logical world, you always think, man, this will come to that, and then I'll have another few weeks to work things out, and you can always plan things, but all plans are subject to collusion. But what is in the heart is deeply personal, and it's never going to be perfect. You just have to go with what now, and that takes courage to do that. Just go right to the, as they say, go to the heart of the matter. You know what I mean? And it's just like, you got to go to the center, the thing that it stands out the most, but you also ignore the most. That's the place you want to focus on, because it's like, there's a reason why that thing's being ignored. It's because of a lack of courage, facing up to yourself, what you want to challenge yourself. Like, and that's what Chuck is kind of saying. Like locally, you could start now. There's a bunch of things you're putting off now that you're afraid to do right now. So it's like, how do you practice heart instead of mind? Stop thinking about it and just do those things now.
Yeah.
Don't wait to call your mom. Don't wait to, talk to your dad. It's just like, all of those types of little things.
Where is everybody? I'm sorry, Machine. I didn't mean to cut you off. But the question comes up before we go too far. Where are you getting your courage from? Where do you find your courage from? And where does it well for everybody? I mean, because I think everybody here has the courage to step up on the panel and share their thoughts or just be here. So that's courageous in itself, especially in the state of affairs. But where are people pulling their well of courage from?
The creator.
Yeah, it has to be. It has to be coming directly from God, because I have not a single thing to offer in this world other than my time and my patience with others. So really, I mean, like, why am I here? You know what I mean? Like, what am I getting for it? What are the people that are doing any of this, like, getting for it? I mean, I'd have to say it's got to be from the love. And since I was up all night last night and, I got like 1 hour of sleep, I don't think it's coming from me at this point. So, because I'm dead, like I'm like half dead as I'm talking. I'm blowed out of my mind. So something is coming through me. Like, there's no fucking way that this is me saying all these words. Bullshit. Whatever I'm saying came from God, and the mistakes I make come from me. Those are for me to realize and to fix. But the good things, that the truth I lay forward, it doesn't come from me. Give me a fucking break. That's crazy talk.
Speaking of which, speaking of courage, by the way, I just want to mention that somebody's playing White Bowser in the chat, and that takes courage, because someone likes me you know, somebody who like me can recognize what that is, and I'll chase you down later on and make a fool of you.
What's
But
white
that's
power?
elsewhere. Oh, it's something involved with a whole other group of people that you don't want to know.
Okay.
That's if anybody thinks they're a troll, they're a troll, no, you're really, truly on the massive level. No, but anyways, not to say to invite these things, but trust, you don't want to go in there if you don't know people. And playing the white Bowser, if you don't know what that is, that's somebody who's not a very cool person that other people are basically attacking and trolling. But it takes a certain set of courage, a certain set of cojones, let's say, to come into somebody else's chat in a philosophical environment and play a character that only a few people will really know. So it's niche. Courage. Where that comes from, I would say it's not the normal space, by the way, not where you're getting it from. So how do we differentiate? This is where I was going with this, by the way. How do we differentiate that? How do we differentiate the courage that comes from, let's say, the Almighty, the Absolute, comparative to the courage that comes from false ideation or selfishness? Or how do we discern that? And is there a value difference? Do we see one as better than the other?
You're back in your head.
True. Yeah, I am. Because I think that there's something here about how people approach these things from the two angles. You know, I think that what Machine is talking about is what we're finding courage in our love, in our heart, in our being. I know I call mine from some unknown source as well, you know. But I also see that some folks come in playing or being, or just, you know, some folks on the panel even come up and they may not have the best interest, but damn, do they have courage? Is that as valuable? Is that the same? I think that's my question. Jack?
I don't know if it's courage or ignorance, lack of care. Ooh, lack of care sometimes comes across as courage.
Yeah. Recklessness, indifference.
Recklessness. Interesting. That's actually what I see a lot of. I try not to judge too harshly, even the trolls, the people who are clearly choosing to be trollish. I try not to judge too much. I try to trust that we're all figuring ourselves out. People don't know what they've not yet learned. And some of the things we have learned in this lifetime are not very healthy, not very practical. And that's what I've learned about others too. The more stories I've listened to, the more people who I've met, the more I see how distinctly different people can actually be based on their real life experience, what they've been taught. A real simple, obvious example, child coming out of poverty without a lot of civility or domestic ideals within the home, without a lot of relationships. Someone coming from a rough, poor lifestyle gets taught that if they want something in life, they got to be tough. They got to take it. And that's what a lot of this society is. A lot of children have been taught that in order to survive in this world, they've got to be tough and they've got to take what they want. It's egoic.
You gotta earn what you get. You
according to who? According to who? Actually, that's another false presumption of the world, this idea of earning and worthiness. God is determinate. God determines what we earn. The results are chosen by God. Man in this world is, it's the way it's set up. I don't know. I'm getting off there. The idea of earning, though, that concept of I have to earn this, otherwise I can't receive it. Coming up with a lot of fear and insecurity, a lot of people they've got issues with self-worth. They don't feel worthy. And people that don't feel worthy feel like they've earned it. Well, they're not going to take that hand. They're not going to take the kindness that's been offered to them. I've done that myself. And that's why I caution, break away from the idea of earning. And I don't know.
Earning builds character.
It does. It does. So, yes, but unfortunately, we don't focus on the character as much as we focus on the results, right? I mean, you guys have seen the narratives that I've been facing. Consistent criticism about my lack of results. Well, I tell you what, my first goal was to improve my character. I think I've been succeeding in my goals, to be honest.
What results are they expecting from? Are they saying that they're not seeing?
Lack of money, lack of whatever, relationships, you know, the real life, the real world I'm living in. There's a lot of reasons.
I just saw a comment in the chat while the power went out, Jack, and it said something about you being meaningless or somebody on the panel being meaningless. And I thought to myself, I said, you're spending time here trying to bother someone else, trying to downgrade someone else. And you're telling him they're meaningless. Like, come on, man. Come on.
Makes a lot of sense, don't it?
Yeah. Get a hold of yourself, brother.
Get your meaning.
This is the world we live in, and these are the characters that the world has created. we don't really get to escape the world and all the people in it.
Yeah, we have to realize
we don't get to escape, so we've got to learn.
We do on the panel. Like, we're on the panels, we have some control of who we get exposed to or not.
We do have a little
and
bit.
Even in our life, like we have a control of who we let into our house, who we associate with outside. So the random strangers know, but there is some way to kind of curate the people in your life.
Yeah, you got to integrate reality at some point.
Do we though? What becomes our reality?
Yeah, reality?
Yeah, at what point we have this issue? By the way, somebody mentioned this earlier. How do we get everybody together when not everybody sees the same reality? And this is a question for us that's tough because it's from the beginning of the time. We're all living within our own little sector of reality as we see it. You know, we can go into the perceptual arguments and particle physics of it, but the truth is we all kind of see what we see based off our culture and based off of our raising and our own experiences. So how do we get that reality?
What if we all live in the non-aggression principle or by the golden rule? And then it doesn't matter what Jeff believes or what Machine Live believes or Jack Talcott believes. It doesn't matter because none of us are harming each other if we live by that rule.
Fuck yeah, Moose.
Based.
That's really, I mean, this is the gist. This is what I've been suggesting. We individually and collectively, we've overcomplicated life. Sincerely. It doesn't matter.
That works on a small scale with a small group of people. The more you scale up and adding more people, you get more of the extreme elements and the anomalies, and then not everyone's going to be able to operate off of the same social contract.
Now, how do we find a contract? And you mentioned this before, and we were talking about this actually yesterday. We were kind of coming to this point before the end of the panel. I'm glad you brought this back up, Jeff, because I want to know what, Jack, you see, because this is the great challenge. We were talking about this earlier, as the way to get those communities at the, what would it be? The point of fail point when it gets large enough to where you can't
well, Scott Peck calls it it's the transition from a pseudo community to a genuine or authentic community.
There you go. How do you get those communities, genuine communities, to communicate and work properly together within your system? What do you think is the approach?
Conflict is one of the way he reckons. Like, communities grow through healthy conflict, but it also takes a amount of psychological maturity on the part of the individuals, I think, just from the start to achieve. Like, not everybody can be a part of the communities that develop to that stage.
Hey, I want to jump into this topic because this is a question. I was actually thinking of shutting it down, but this has really piqued my interest. The topic came up the other day. my idea, or I brought up the concept of a world community, and there's resistance, and I listened to the resistance, but the thought I'm wondering, we know the history, tribal mindset is within us. I actually see community as a potentially a more civilized evolution of the tribe. Do you think that's fair? Is the tribal mindset the one that conforms and then fights?
No,
Can we have communities cooperating?
I think the tribal mindset is unavoidable because it's built into our hardware as humans, but there
Yeah.
can be an evolution in the quality of the tribalism. I don't know about the scale of I don't know if our brains are ever going to, at least not at this point in history, wired for a global community where we see every other human on the planet the same way we would see someone in our tribe. But I think the quality of the tribes that we do form can perhaps evolve.
All right. See, and I can, where I listen to the feedback and I understand the nature of us, and as the community or the group grows, there's statistics where it shows, yeah, there's a falling off, a breaking point there where we outgrow it. But just like individuals can cooperate, if we can improve, I think actually this is it. As we improve the quality of the communities, just as individuals can work together, quality communities can work together, and we can reduce the conflicts and the wars. I know we can.
And individual communities can work together too. Just like individuals can form communities, communities can come together and form some larger something. But I don't think it's going to be the global level that you're looking at. So you can have this ecosystem of communities. As we talked about yesterday, individuals can be part of different communities. So we're not talking about static units. It's more of a dynamic concept.
Yes. And that was the other part that really opened my mind up to that is the truth. And actually, the Veterans for Peace meeting last night, the men and women involved in the local chapter here, they are spread out through the community. They're connected in with all of these other organizations and groups, and it's almost like a center point.
Yeah. Of, a hub or a node.
Yeah. And that's the example of what you're talking about, belonging to multiple communities. And if we can tie those communities together, which is probably what's happening already naturally, we do this.
Do you think that they actually seek out war as opposed to peace?
Yes.
I disagree, because even Trump was crossing massive borders to try to bring peace as opposed to war.
I didn't see that. I heard that rhetoric, but I didn't see a lot of
the Abraham Accord.
Same old chasing profits and
no, the Abraham Accord was a good point, where he was trying to bring the region together through peace as opposed to out fighting each other.
It created that appearance, and that's for sure.
And I think when we get into Chuck, I think when we get into the diplomatic policy of the stuff that goes on between countries, you start to get to kind of what what Jeff is pointing out, where you have the community that may not agree with that, and the diplomats that are seeking to kind of push an idea that they think will work, and there's a disconnect between those two places because the people may not be with it.
Like for example, just in that example, because I had Kushner there on my thumbnail yesterday, and he was one of the main actors in the Abraham Accord kind of thing. And it's important to realize that he goes to the grave of the Lubavitcher and goes and prays. So he's actually not just a Jew like Aaron here, but he's a messianic. He's of a messianic stripe. So he takes it to a kind of another level where they want the Mashiach to come back, and they have like the return of the third temple and all of that kind of stuff. So So the guy, you know, like Jack said, it has the appearance, you know, of peace on the front of it, but it's actually a bunch of NGOs and all these
But
organizations that
is it
also
not a
control. Yeah.
is it not a starting point for something better?
If it's real,
Mm,
it is, but otherwise,
yeah.
it's
Yeah.
my
Exactly.
view. It's
Yeah.
my
Because
view. It's Trump in my perspective. It's clear he was controlled opposition. Most of these government officials become that. And the question you asked, Chuck, do you really believe that they're starting wars intentionally? I do, because it's self-preservation. Okay. And once we create an organization, once we create a business or a government, it is a new entity that people will dedicate their lives to making sure it survives because they think the government is them and the Defense Department is me. So if I got to justify my job, and my job is what cares for my family and putting my daughters through school, so my job in the Defense Department relies upon war. You better believe they're starting wars just to make us believe that they're important.
Nah, I don't believe that.
Well, I'd also say, Chuck, I don't know if you're familiar with the term, but what Kushner and many like him, as well as in the Christian right and in the extreme Muslim factions and in a number of these factions who want the quote unquote end of the world so we can change everything to the beginning, it's called accelerationism. And to believe that there isn't accelerationists within all of our systems would be kind of missing some of the truth of the matter, that systems are made up of people, and you're going to get all kinds of people in them. And when you give greed a little leeway to, earn its way through war, you will get ideas like when there's blood in the streets, the real estate is cheap. And that, even though it's not probably the point of the politic or the government, it may be the part of those who do wage the war, who do impart the war, who do fight the first or fire the first shot. And a lot of the times what I have found in my reading and research is that wars aren't started by the governments. They're started by a dude on the front line who has somebody in front of them who may be an accelerationist who goes, press the button. And they do. And that's how wars tend to start, or diplomatic faux pas. Some of the weirdest things that have ever started in the world, that started wars in the world, were diplomatic faux pas. And
yes, I agree.
I have heard of the Tartarian truth, by the way, and Andreas Zerdis all day long, by the way.
Hey, what about the the Iraq thing in Afghanistan where they started setting up the opium fields and then pharmaceutical companies started shilling out a bunch of opiates? I mean,
We
wars
have
are
no
fought for that too.
interest. We don't have an interest in there at the present.
I'm not saying we do. I'm saying the people that are causing the wars do.
They did. Yeah. There's a lot of evidence of that. It's been absolute corruption. This world, guys, what if, right? What if this is God's plan to show us the levels of corruption in the world, to show us the human trafficking, the adrenochrome, the DUMBs, the deep underground military bases, all of the evidence of MK Ultra, of the government's mind control, the government's involvement in overthrowing governments all around the world. What if this is God's plan showing us? What are you going to do? God's saying, right? This is the world that you have created, and this is the world that I have given to you. What do you want to do? I mean, because the corruption is being revealed for a reason. People are risking their lives trying to get news out, whistleblowers trying to put the pieces together of these histories and stuff, with the idea, I believe, that if others know, as more people know, maybe we'll solve these problems.
Well, I think sometimes the solutions are worse than the problems, and that goes with kind of people rushing to fix things that aren't really broken, because really the best things in life are free, and the best type of help is unprofessional, you know, to a large extent, you know, because but yeah, the solution seems paradoxical though, because you know, and it goes with what you guys were talking about, tribalism, you know, and in the sense of that you have to think you know, globally but plan locally, but that's in the territory of the mind. When you go into doing things, you know, you have to treat big things like they're small, and small things as if they're really important, you know, because they're the immediate things, you know, that you can focus on. So in terms of doing, you take a different approach than what you do in terms of planning things, you know. So because when you plan things, you look at the bigger picture, you know. But yeah, you know.
I don't know. Hey guys, I don't mean to throw the wrench in suddenly, but we've been running pretty long. I'm feeling like shutting it down, if that's all right. It is all right. I'm asking permission, but I mean,
Who's got a live going tonight?
I don't know.
I think that's what you were doing, Jack, was you were giving us a chance to find the next place, the next watering hole.
That is what I'm encouraging. What's that, Barbie?
That's what I was gonna do, was go over to my channel. I'm just messing around with the green screen, so.
Oh yeah, I just noticed your green screen.
Yeah, so I'm gonna be messing around with that.
You're gonna do a panel, you think?
Yeah, probably. I'll just be over there goofing off. If anybody wants to come over there, we can just move over there.
Can you throw your link in the back chat?
Yeah, or even in the front chat.
Front chat too.
Either one.
Jeff, apparently somebody's got your tiny grapes in their hand.
Yeah, tiny grapes.
Well, she says they're tiny. I'd guess that they're you know,
oh, that's Melody, moron. I don't. In one ear, not the other.
No, yes, no. I only said that because that's kind of her to be holding gently. You know, your grapes. I think that's, you know, I don't think she realizes.
Yeah, I didn't even know I had any grapes to hold, so thank you.
Oh yeah. That's a flex. That's a flex. The audience is holding your grapes.
I'm touched.
You literally.
What color are the grapes?
By the way, Grape Daily, amazing channel. Anyways.
Grape Daily.
Grape Daily, same video of grapes, same song. I think they're on day 2590.
Wait, what? Why is that great?
Yeah.
Grape Daily.
Oh, okay. That sounds bad.
Well, if you want a little funniness, it's existed for a long time. Anyway, sorry.
Anyways.
All right, Jack.
Yeah, thank you, Jack. Take care. I guess the party's going to Barbie's. I'm gonna go try to get something to eat, and then I might stop by later.
Sounds good. Please. Yep. I'm gonna start tossing people the back. Aaron, Chuck.
I'll bail out, Jack. Thanks for a good panel tonight. Appreciate it.
All right, brother. Thank you, Chuck.
And thank you, Jack, as usual, for having me on. Machine Lies. There's a couple of things you covered last night I'd love to talk to you at length about, actually, because I think between the two of us, we could probably illuminate people to the weird background of things they are kind of ignorant about in religious practices and ideas. And
sure. I got your back on that anytime you want, my friend. Yes,
that'd be amazing. And you're always welcome on my side. And Jack, you know, you're always welcome on my panel. And thank you for hosting these things. It is really a wonderful place to share. And the people that come up here are really intelligent and well-spoken. So thank you for that, man. And I will find the button on my way out.
All right, brother. Aaron, thank you very much. And you do rock. Barbie, did you
I'm getting I'm getting a link set up now, so I'll leave it in the chat either here or I'll leave it in the comments if you want to go ahead and shut it down. But I'm getting it now.
I'm going to toss you to the back and finish up my stuff. Thank you, my friend. Machine Lies.
Yeah, I was just talking about a little bit about how there's no divisions in the heart. You know, the mind focuses on analysis. You know, well, you know, a house divided cannot stand, and a man cannot serve two masters. You know, so let that be a lesson to the wise. You know, between the heart and the mind. You know, let's not have any divisions, but let's have them touch and agree. But yeah, bless you guys. And you guys have a blessed night. I'm praying for all of you. Thank you.
Respect, brother. Thank you. And we'll talk again soon, especially you, Machine Lies, okay? And brothers and sisters, sincerely, all of you who did join the panel today, joined the chat, tuned in at a later time, sincerely, thank you. The idea of living through mind and heart, what Machine Lies offered there at the end was beautifully spoken, is very well said. In the heart is unification, is wholeness, is, well, I can't say that for everyone. I know there's many hearts that are out there, and maybe one of you listening has got a heart right now. It's just a big hole in it because someone you care about is distant, something you want or you really appreciate is out of your reach. So I understand it can feel sometimes like the heart is broken, is shattered. But the reality is, brothers and sisters, that heart is whole. You are complete. What creates the shattering, what really drives the pain, it's in our mind. It's the analyzer. And sincerely, in this life, we can reach analysis paralysis. Our review of the data, our constant considering and figuring it out, just the mind energy can paralyze us. And what was spoken earlier too is that when the heart knows and the mind chooses, the body flows. It just goes, right? The heart and the body will carry us through what we know. That's why when you're driving down the road, you can literally travel and not even remember doing it because you literally are on an automatic functioning. It's the design of our bodies, our minds, our breath. It is miraculous. It's perfect. It's divine. And within all of us is a divine mind. There's a divine heart, and the love connecting those two powers, the mind and heart, becoming a unified mind, becoming one who is intentional with their love, with their purpose. That's within you. Authenticity, intentionality. I don't know, maybe too much there. Brothers and sisters, sincerely, thank you again. I encourage you, drop down, drop in, right? From the chaos of your life, the craziness of the world, all the conflicts, the global debts, and all of this stuff, drop down into your heart. Feel the peace of being without thought, the peace of being still and whole and filled with love, gratitude, joy. Hopefully you can take those until next time. And I hope you return again next time. Brothers and sisters, stay tuned. Watch for the notifications. Join us again in the future. Choose love, peace for everyone, and live without fear. Thank you again.